What would happen if African countries made the decision to cut off contact with the West? Would they be isolated, or would they flourish on their own? Western nations have believed for decades that Burkina Faso and Africa in general could not function without their military presence and financial assistance. The recent change in relationships, however, implies otherwise. Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran have all publicly backed Burkina Faso's transition to independence and urged the country to create a new course independent of Western influence. However, the West finds this development disturbing. The leader of this change, President Ibrahim Traore, has come under heavy fire from world powers. Western countries have historically responded to leaders who challenge their hegemony by enacting economic penalties, causing political instability, or even using force. Will Burkina Faso come out stronger, or will Traore suffer the same fate as previous African leaders who questioned the established quo? France, the former colonial power, has long dominated Burkina Faso, exerting influence over its armed forces, economy, and political system. But the nation is standing up under Traore's leadership. He has implemented measures to restore national sovereignty since taking office in September 2022. His most significant action was the expulsion of French troops from Burkina Faso on February 8, 2024, a daring declaration of independence that shocked Africa and beyond. The expulsion was not merely a token act. It was a deliberate move in the direction of independence and opposition to neo-colonial rule. The administration of Traore made it plain that outside forces would no longer rule Burkina Faso. Rather, the country is shifting its focus to other partnerships, especially with South America and Russia. As nations like Mali and Niger follow similar trajectories, this change represents a wider rejection of Western domination throughout the Sahel. Burkina Faso's defiance was not taken lightly by the West, as was to be expected. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, immediately demanded explanations, but Traore held his ground, reiterating the message that Burkina Faso was paving a new path on its own terms. Government spokeswoman Remtalba Emmanuel Wadiogo rejected any attempts to overturn the ruling. The action provoked discussion around the world. Some African countries cautioned of possible consequences, while others saw Traore as a symbol of resistance. Given that Burkina Faso is still fighting Islamist insurgencies associated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, the French military withdrawal sparked security worries. To cover the gap, the government has started looking into other security alliances, such as military cooperation with Russia. Building an independent Burkina Faso that is not dependent on Western military operations or financial help with political conditions attached is at the core of Traore's plan. In addition to investing in domestic security measures, his government is working to diversify its economy and improve trade ties with nations that respect its sovereignty. The rupture with the West by Burkina Faso is a part of a wider African trend in favor of partnerships founded on respect for one another rather than reliance. Many countries are re-evaluating their historical ties with former colonial powers. In the years to come, Africa's geopolitical environment may be reshaped by the transition from neo-colonial entanglements to self-sufficiency. The action generated controversy around the world. Traore was seen as a symbol of resistance by several African countries, but others cautioned about possible consequences. Security concerns were raised by the French military pullout because Burkina Faso is still fighting Islamist insurgencies associated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The government has been looking into other security alliances, like as military cooperation with Russia, to